Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking at some anticipated releases for the next 3 months. So I do these videos quarterly and have been for the past couple of years, so I will link the playlist down below. And this time I will be looking at anticipated releases for April, May and June of 2023 and some books that I'm really looking forward to both reading and buying and adding to my collection despite there not being enough space for them here. I will just dive in date order, going through some books that I'm really anticipating. So the first one, bit of a weird one here. I have the Brandon Sanderson releases. He sort of has two because the traditionally published version of Tress of the Emerald Sea, so the first of the secret projects, is coming out on the 4th of April. So for those of us that did not back the Kickstarter and haven't read the ebook, we can finally have a physical copy of the book. I believe this has been marketed as like for fans of The Princess Bride, sort of fairy tale-esque cozy fantasy, but set within the Cosmere, following a main character, Tress, who has lived on an island her whole life, and she ends up going on a voyage to seek the sorcerers of the deadly Midnight Sea in order to save her friend's father, and her sort of getting away from the simple life that she knows and loves and the adventures that she goes through. And in general, I've heard really rave things about this. I think people have said that it's like a cozy fairy tale type fantasy, lighter than a lot of other Brandon Sanderson books, so mostly positive opinions on this one so far. But this one has been technically released, but the physical edition for me is coming. But also in April, the second of the Secret Project books is coming out for those people that did back the Kickstarter and who are going to read the ebook. So this one being called the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. I think the ebook of this comes out on the 1st of April for those that backed the Kickstarter and the 11th of April for those of us that didn't. And then the hardback is also coming out in this quarter on the 27th of June. And this one, based on the title, I am assuming is not set in the Cosmere. We're following a man who has awoken in medieval England. He doesn't know why he's there. He's lost his memories and he is chased by a group from his own time. He is meant to have this guidebook giving him an idea of what to do and why he is there, but he has lost his guidebook has exploded during transit, and so he is trying to piece together what to do. I don't feel as though this premise appeals to me as much as Tress does, but we will wait and see what people have to say and see how people feel about this secret project. And so those are the Brandon Sanderson releases. I did just put him in as one line, but he does technically have two, all coming out within this quarter. Next, on the 11th of April, Untethered Sky comes out by Fonda Lee. This does seem to have some differing dates. Like it looks as though some parts of the book, or like the Kindle edition, is coming out on the 11th of April, maybe the hardback coming out on the 23rd of May. Either way, it is in this quarter. It just potentially they're releasing the different editions at different times. Maybe it's a UK thing, not too sure. But I have loved the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, so I will definitely be interested in reading more of what she has written. She does have some like older books that I haven't read, but this is her new release. In this, we're following a main character, Esther, and at the beginning of the book, a manticore has killed her mother and baby brother, leaving her with just her father, who is silent and overwhelmed by the events, and she goes on a mission to seek revenge on these manticores that killed her family. And Esther's path leads her into the King's Royal Mews, where she is trained to fly the great rocks of legend, so these like giant birds, and she devotes herself to riding them and hunting these manticores. It's a short book, only 160 pages, so a novella in length, but very intrigued to see more of Fonda Lee. I have really enjoyed her writing style, so very intrigued to see what her writing is like in the novella type format and in a more fantasy type world. I know that the Greenbone Saga was a fantasy, but it had very modern influences, whereas this feels more like an epic fantasy world. Okay, next on the 13th of April, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross is coming out. I feel like this is a light academia type book. I might have made that up. I was getting dark academia vibes from it based on the title, the imagery, but actually reading the synopsis, it sounds lighter than that. So we're following two young rivals at this newspaper, and after centuries of sleep, the gods are warring again. Our main character has been writing letters to her brother on the front line, but one of her letters falls into the possession of her rival at this newspaper, and it is them forming an unlikely magical connection. They're sent off into the middle of the mystical war, magical typewriters in tow, and so we're following them and this war with the gods. It's described as an epic enemies to lovers fantasy novel filled with hope and heartbreak and the unparalleled power of love. We'll see if this is like a dark academia, light academia type book. I'm not really too sure what to expect, but intriguing. I was very intrigued by A River Enchanted, and that I felt like had a great premise but let me down in execution. So intrigued to see how I feel about this one, and how people feel about it in general, or whether it's more on the YA side than the adult side. Based on that synopsis, I'm not too sure. Still in April, there's quite a lot of books coming out in April. On the 20th of April, Bone Shard War is coming out by Andrew Stewart. This is the third and final book in the Drowning Empire series, the first book being The Bone Shard Daughter. So I have really thoroughly enjoyed both The Bone Shard Daughter and The Bone Shard Emperor, the first and the second book in the series. So I'm really excited to get into the third and final book in this series and seeing where it's all going to wrap up to. So if you haven't started the series, now would be a great time, because you'll be able to get into it just in time for the third and final book. When is a better time to get into a series than when the final book's coming out? Because you're going to get, that everything's going to be there to binge. But the first book, we are following a cast of characters in this archipelago. One of our main characters is Lynn, the Emperor's daughter, who is trying to recover her memories. We're also following Jovis, who is in search for his lost wife, and then a couple of other characters throughout the world. In this world, there is a magic system where bone shards are taken from every human as a tithe, and then these bone shards are used to fuel these constructs. These constructs can be sort of these animal-like figures which are used throughout the world. Some of them have more menial tasks, like as dock workers, and some of them have seats of power. But as soon as your bone shard is in use, it drains the life out of you. So I'm very, very intrigued to see where this is going to go next. I feel as though we're in a very different place now at the end of book 2 to book 1, and I'm very, very intrigued to see where it's all going to head to and wrap up to. Then the final book for April. Big month. It's going to be an expensive month. On the 25th of April, Happy Place by Emily Henry comes out. This is her newest romance release. I have been really thoroughly enjoying all of Emily Henry's romance books that she has published. This is her newest one. It is, I believe, a second chance romance book. We are following two characters that have broken up but are pretending that they are still together as they go on holiday with their friends. And I assume that their pretending to be together is going to lead to them actually being together, so a second chance in their romance. I'm already intrigued, as I want to know why they broke up, what has brought them apart, and what is going to bring them back together again. I've always enjoyed Emily Henry's romances and the way that she interweaves like other issues into her romances. So very, very excited to get into it and see where it is going to go. And probably good, I've got some lighter things on here interweaved between all these epic fantasies. Now we can finally move into May. In May, on the 11th, the book that wouldn't burn by Mark Lawrence is coming out. I have had, I guess, some mixed opinions about Mark Lawrence. I've read the Red Sister trilogy, which I felt like started off quite well and then went a little bit downhill, but I haven't read any of his other books. But this one sounds really intriguing. I mean, I love a book about books, and I think that this is going to deliver that. Evar has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library older than empires and larger than cities. Livera has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust where nightmares stalk and no one goes. The world has never noticed them. That's about to change, and that's all we get. That's all we get, as per the synopsis on Amazon. And I feel like I am intrigued. I love a book about books. I mean, I really enjoyed The Starless Sea, and books about books just really do something for me. Books about libraries, books about books, it just works. It just works. This has a very beautiful cover, maybe because it is of a very intricate looking library. Instantly, it's beautiful. Next, on the 16th of May, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang is coming out. So this is a little bit different, I'd say, from the normal R.F. Kuang books that have been published before, because I believe this one is a contemporary, whereas everything that I've read from her, which is the Poppy War trilogy, which is epic fantasy, and then Babel, which is more of like a historical fantasy, have that very much a fantasy twist to them, whereas this is set in our real world. So we have Athena Liu is a literary darling, and June Hayward is a nobody. When Athena dies in a freak accident, June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own under an ambiguous name. But as evidence threatens June's stolen success, she will discover exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. And potentially there are going to be some deadly consequences to this. So vague, definitely vague, but definitely intriguing. I feel like there's going to be some commentary on this, on the publishing industry and how publishing can be challenging for non-white authors to get published in today's society. I will see more once I read it, but very, very intrigued. I feel like intrigued is my word of the day. Okay, then on the 30th of May, Witch King is being released by Martha Wells. This is the first book in a new, I don't know if it's a new fantasy series or a standalone by her. So we're following a main character, Kai, who, after being murdered and his consciousness dormant and unaware of the passing of time for many, many years in an elaborate water trap, wakes to find a lesser mage trying to harness his magic and powers. But why was he imprisoned in the first place? What has changed in the world since his assassination? And Kai will need to pull his allies close to draw on all of his magic to answer any of these questions. Pretty vague, but pretty intriguing. I don't feel like I've read a book. It just seems very like normal that this person has been murdered and trapped and now is awakening. It seems a little bit bizarre. Seems intriguing. I'm wondering how, I've only read a couple of books in the Murderbot series, like how this is going to potentially like combine maybe the writing style, like the character. I don't know if there's going to be any similarities between this and the Murderbot series in terms of the writing style, in terms of maybe the characterization. It definitely sounds very, very different to the Murderbot series. She does have like some older fantasy books, so maybe it's going to be more in the style of those. Sounds different. Okay, we now get to move into June. On the 13th of June, Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood is coming out. This is a new romance by her, though I assume this will have some of the similarities that we have seen in some of her previous books. So the STEM science setting with a romantic pairing. I haven't looked too much into the synopsis, and I don't think I really plan to read too much into it. I assume it will be cute. What I'm really hoping for is that we will get away a little bit from the archetypes. Like, I'm okay sticking with the scientific setting, but I would like, fingers crossed, for our characters to be different from those seen in Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis, because I feel as though those characters were cookie cutter cutouts of each other. That they were pretty much identical. Like, the female was small and tiny and a little bit cutesy. The male was big and broad and muscly and a little bit broody, and they were pretty much the same between the two books. So I'm hoping that we can get a little bit away from that and we don't end up again with the tiny female and the muscly man, and can have some changes in personality a little bit, is what I'm really hoping for, because I did love The Love Hypothesis, but then I found Love on the Brain a little bit of a just too samey. It was too samey, so I'm hoping for some difference here. If it delivers that, I've enjoyed her writing style, I've enjoyed the pacing of her books. I just hope for some differences. Hoping I'm gonna love this, but a little bit nervous. And then on the 22nd of June, The First Bright Thing is being released by J.R. Dawson. This is a debut book, and I was sold because it said it's for fans of The Night Circus and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Both books I've given 5 stars, so it's books that I have loved and adored, and that's what it's being compared to. I believe this is a circus book, which is where it gets the Night Circus reference. So yes, this has a circus setting. I believe this is run by our main character Rin and her wife Odette. Rin can jump between different moments in time, and it is set following the events of World War I and at this circus and the performances that they do every night. But there is a threat to this circus. There is this ringmaster who has set his sights on Rin and her circus, who rules over his troupe with a dangerous power, and he has his eyes set on Rin's circus and won't stop until it's his. I do love a circus setting. I do. I think I do have a video that is a little bit old on like circus books and circus recommendations. The Night Circus being one of them. I am a little bit nervous because it does have those like big names associated with it, The Night Circus and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and can it compare to that? I don't know. The only way to find out is to read it. So there we go. There are 10 anticipated releases for the next 3 months. I feel like there must be ones that I was missing when I was compiling this list. I was trying, but there definitely feels like there was some things that I'm missing from this. I always stick to 10, but I feel like there's probably more out there that I just completely missed off. Additionally, if you're after any UK covers, I do have a Blackwell's affiliate link down below, which is a UK-based bookshop which ships internationally for free if you're interested in any of the UK editions. Let me know if there are any other books that are coming out in the next 3 months that you are really anticipating and I should put on my radar. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!